All right. Well, here's a few news articles that I thought were pretty interesting. This one was all over the place in a letter, I think not intended to go to the press, but sent to members of the U.S. Air Force. A general said in his gut he thinks we're going to be at war with China by 2025, and he is full of recommendations for his officers to train harder and get ready for war with China. Officials from the U.S. military have come out and said that they do not. This is not the official position of the U.S. military that they expect war with China soon. This guy thinks it's going to happen over Taiwan. I certainly hope he's wrong. I'm hearing more people say that is not likely. I sure would hate to see that. Someone said, I might be developing a cybersecurity. Oh, of course. Yes, this is a common question. Anybody that wants to use any of my content, it's all available to anybody. And I even left a official statement to that effect. If you go, I guess it's at the bottom of the page now, I have a use policy. Here it is. So I filled out one of these forms which says, I take no claim, no copyright on any of this stuff. So anybody is free to use this for any kind of training you want. And I do know there are some companies that are using it for internal training at their corporations and stuff, and that's fine. Yes, and like SK Gold says, I certainly would hate to see us at war with China. I mean, we've had some conflicts with China over issues like hacking and banking and trade, but I sure would hate to see it get into a war where we're killing each other over that. And until recently, it seemed to me like the leaders of China were intelligent enough not to come near this. I mean, Xi Jinping seems to be making noises like he's actually going to invade Taiwan, which seems to me that would be insane. I mean, he's already got a plan to gradually take over Taiwan an inch at a time, which is the way to do it if you want to do it. That way you don't provoke crazy responses like a war. You don't need to invade it. You just need to slowly change the laws and the rules and slowly take over, which is what's been going on. Anyway, so big tech layoffs are a huge issue, of course. Every company around here is laying people off, and I've been a lot of talk about some Stanford business and Harvard business professors that say this is not necessary. But here is one intelligent presentation of the other side, I think. Normally, a business would hire people, and then it would be best to just hold on to them and not be laying them off to demoralize your staff. But perhaps the problem is the rate of growth of tech industries. I didn't realize this. There were some amazing numbers in here, and I don't know if I can find them now, but the point is tech companies grew at an unbelievable rate, doing something like doubling their entire staff in 1 year. Let me see if I can find this list of hirings. Yeah, here we are. From 2019 to 2022, Microsoft grew by 53%, Google added 57%, Amazon and Meta increased by 93 and 94%. So in just a couple of years, they doubled their entire headcount. So if you're going to ramp up that fast, it would make more sense to say after you don't have this huge demand anymore caused by the pandemic, then you have to lay people off. It does create the current Silicon Valley culture, which I always have to explain to students, where you shouldn't have any much loyalty to your employer. They're just going to lay you off. You just jump to another job as soon as you get a better offer. You don't expect to stay at one company more than a year or two. That is the current system. Employees just flit around like, insects from spot to spot instead of sitting in one place and having a home and building a life there. That is our current culture. I'm not sure that's entirely healthy, but that is how it is. Yeah, and I agree with Jay Allen. It's more like an economic war. Would make a lot more sense than actually shooting war with China. So I didn't know about this, but this affected Jimmy Kimmel and other people too. They played the noise for the emergency alert system, this irritating noise, and it is against the law. The emergency alert system has been around since the 60s. It is a special sound they play over radio signals, and it's supposed to get everybody's attention. Then you follow it with emergency information like an air raid or something. And various people, even in comedy, have played bits of it, and the FTC has punished them with fines like up to $500,000 for doing that. So Fox played a few seconds of it, and they're getting hit, just like the Hollywood film Olympus Has Fallen and the Jimmy Kimmel Show all made the same mistake of using this as a joke. and they got no sense of humor. I remember I went to the airport before COVID, and they had a sign up saying the TSA has no sense of humor. Do not make jokes about guns or bombs. It's the same deal here. No sense of humor. So this is an old scam, but it seems to be the way federal agencies are being hacked by now. People call them on the phone and say, you need to install remote desktop tools so we can help you. And they have them download a legitimate remote desktop tool, but the attacker has the password. So it's just fooling you. I remember maybe 10 years ago, one of my friends Googled for help with like a lost AOL password or something, and all the first top 10 hits on Google were fake help desks. And I think a relative of mine got hit. All kinds of people got hit because you would do something very reasonable. You would go to Google and ask for help. You'd click the link. You'd go to a page that looks official, and you'd be talking to a criminal who you'd be giving control of your computer to. So apparently this is still going on, and CISA says it's still at it, happening in government systems in October and after that. So this gets down to a big security issue, which is that the people are your weak link. The number one way of hacking everybody is not new. It's always been this way. It's to just fast talk people and confuse them into making a human mistake. So, all right, so Donald Trump has begun texting and using email. I noticed articles about this increasing over the last few years. This is actually a really bad idea, and it may be the end of him because, as became incredibly clear during his presidency, Donald Trump runs his organization like a mob boss. He never gives anybody clear orders. He just gives them suggestions. Like he suggested on January 6th that all the people should go up and fight like hell, but he didn't really make it clear what they would do. So then when they broke in the building and beat police with clubs, he can claim he didn't exactly tell them to do that. And one of the rules, which I think he learned from Roy Cohn decades ago, his attorney, is you never put anything in writing, you never use email, you never use text, because that creates a trail, and he's doing it now. So this is probably going to get him in a world of trouble. And his lawyers, the thing about Trump is he makes up stuff and lies all the time, and he doesn't even know what's happening. His lawyers are always trying to keep him out of court, keep him out of being under oath, prevent him from giving depositions, because if he ever says anything that is examined objectively to see if it's true, of course, it's all lies. And he lies all the time without even knowing it. So leaving a trail of his statements is an extremely bad idea. For a guy like him, it will probably greatly impair his legal and political future. Anyway, we'll see what comes of that. So ovens, smart ovens, what they have to do is check to see if they have an internet connection. And what probably the most professional thing to do would be for the company that made the oven to run a server and for it to connect to that server to see if the internet connection works. But they didn't do that. They just made it ping out to public servers like Google, and they made it ping to 3 servers, one in America, one in China, and one in, I think, Singapore. And the problem with that is people now regard that as a privacy violation. It means that every time you turn on your oven in America, your IP address is sent to a machine in China. And this reminds me of the current gigantic noise made about TikTok, where our children are using TikTok and all that data is being sent to China. And it's part of this gradual buildup of hostility towards China, which, that one guy says we're headed for a war with China. People are increasingly more and more worried about any American product sending data to China. And they say, here's a case where it's sending data to China for no good reason at all. And it probably shouldn't be doing that. Apparently also to Russia. So it's, I would think a ping is pretty harmless, but maybe not. It just depends on your threat model. Could somebody hurt you by knowing the IP address of your oven? And I guess maybe they could. If they found a vulnerability in the oven, and then they could do something like make the oven start a fire, then they'd have a bunch of addresses of these ovens just right there. So I guess I can see you could worry about it. It's an interesting issue. And, all right, that link seems to go somewhere silly. Oh, no. Nope, I don't know what this is about. All right, forget that one. All right, so there's been another mass shooting a few days ago in California, right near here, Half Moon Bay, probably about a half hour from where I'm standing right now. And this one appeared among farm workers. One of the farm workers was harassed, and there was a collision between two farm vehicles, and he was blamed for it, and he charged him $100 for it, and he didn't agree with that, so he complained to his supervisor, and he said, "You're going to have to pay it." So he got so mad, he went and got a gun and shot a whole bunch of people at his workplace with whom he had grudges. And this reminds me of the origin of the term going postal. I haven't heard about it that much lately, but about 20 years ago, there were mass shootings where post office workers would go in and just shoot all kinds of people in the office. And now that I work in a company that's civil service, City College, I can see how it happens. Civil service, because it's chronically underfunded, tends to be a very, very frustrating place to work. Often the equipment you need is not there, the staff doesn't help you, the rules don't make any sense, you can't contact supervisors to get things you need, and a lot of people are just very, very, very frustrated on the job until crazy things happen. So I was just hearing a podcast, which, by the way, I recommend, called Odd Lots, a financial podcast, and they were talking about how is it that all of Southwest Airlines went down, and why is it that a lot of software that's in use is running out-of-date software on out-of-date machines, and it's real hard to maintain. And they talked about how this happens, and it's often the case that people on the job are using broken stuff with broken systems, and they get more and more disgruntled until they snap. Anyway, that's enough of this. Let me stop this recording. Here we are.